And I'm going to edit the front and back of this, but.
Okay, I have no whiteboard today because I just don't.
You have
That's okay.
handouts instead.
I have handouts instead.
That works.
And we're gonna play a little like trivia game.
Okay.
Ooh, fun times,
Are there
right?
prizes?
No,
Yeah.
prizes. You know what the prize is? You know what the prize is? All the knowledge I am going to provide
There
for
you
you
go.
today. All right. So today I'm going to be talking about caffeine in energy drinks. How much is too much? What are the side effects if you have too much? What are the risks of energy drinks? All those kinds of things. Okay. So first, we're going to talk about what exactly caffeine is. So it is a drug that stimulates your brain, your nervous system, because I think that's commonly asked. Like, is it a naturally derived drug? Well, yes, but a lot of our pharmaceuticals, from the base of them, are naturally derived anyway, right? So it's kind of like, So it is a drug, but it's a natural deriving drug. Okay. So how much caffeine is appropriate each day? So the average healthy adult, right? Because we have a lot of factors that can contribute to the appropriate intake of caffeine per individual, right? So for the average healthy adult, the amount is 400 milligrams of caffeine a day. Right? I thought so too. When I read that and I looked that up, right? But Kathy's like, but it's not. When you account for and you think about what caffeine is in and how much of it you have per day, it really isn't a lot. But it could be roughly four 8-ounce cups of coffee, just coffee though. We're not talking about like lattes or those specialty drinks, just like straight up black coffee. 10 cans of soda. I was like, what?
Wow.
But 10.
I used to drink 6 to 8
Wow.
a day.
Wow.
And my doctor said you could lose 10 pounds. If you got rid of the soda, you could lose 10 pounds in a year. I'm like, right, I'm going to prove you wrong. And 2 months later, I had to go with my son and I got on the scale and I had lost 9.5 pounds.
Yeah,
Wow.
I believe it. It's powerful.
Wow.
I believe that too. So sometimes the smallest little changes can really make a profound difference. But yeah, 10 cans of cola or
A day?
a day, or 2 energy drinks. Just 2.
So that's how much is in it. One.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yes.
Right? So I can see what I would say what's the takeaway in that, just that. 4 8-ounce cups of brewed coffee, 10 cans of soda, or 2 energy drinks. Where do we want our caffeine to come from?
Black coffee.
Yeah. Okay.
Deborah's like, that's what I'm drinking.
We get the most. We get the most of it, right? If we get the most of it, it's 10 cans of soda, but who's drinking that, right? So I'm like, that doesn't count, right? We get the most of it, and it's probably like the purest form of of caffeine, right? That you could get. So,
But imagine the people who have like a soda, 2 cups of coffee, the energy drink.
that's
later.
Kathy's point, is that it adds up after a while,
Yeah.
right? This 400 milligrams really adds up, especially if you throw in energy drinks. And I know people who will have 2, 3, and 4 of those
Oh,
a day.
me too.
Mhm.
I have a gal that does 1 in the morning, 1 in the midday, 1 for lunch, 2 in the afternoon, and 1 for dinner. And I'm
my
like,
God.
how do you go to sleep at night?
yeah.
Right.
Your
That's-
nervous system must just be.
That's a lot.
Wow. Well, and I can't do it because it makes me have heart palpitations. And I'm like, no.
Yep. So caffeine can also be found in chocolate, which I think you guys know, right?
Both dark and
Milk, just chocolate, because it's
Okay.
found in cocoa. So the cocoa bean as well. So it's both. It's chocolate and cocoa. So like if you had like a very pure form of like cocoa mix for hot chocolate or something like that, it could possibly contain caffeine. That's why I wanted to point that out. And also ice cream. So if there's chocolate, pure chocolate in your ice cream, there's gonna be caffeine in your ice cream. We don't think about stuff like that. Again, why I'm bringing it up, right? Caffeine can also be added to supplements and medication. So when you think of medications, think of like Excedrin migraine,
Yeah.
for example. We don't think about those things either.
Oh, I do.
You
If
do?
I
Oh,
get-
I do.
Well, yeah, because if I get a migraine and I I can't take Excedrin because it rips my stomach up. But the
Yep.
last time I did, I was like, oh my god!
Yeah,
I don't,
like
'cause I
caffeine.
I
don't.
never thought of
Yeah.
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 And because caffeine is supposed to open up the capillaries in your neck
Yep.
to help
Increase
subside.
the blood flow, which
Yeah.
which they think might help with the
It
migraines,
doesn't.
but for some it does and some it does not. So yeah, migraines is one of those very tricky things because it's so funny. It can be used as a treatment for migraines, but for some it's also very much a trigger and you can't have it really. So it really depends on the particular individual case of migraine. There's still not a lot that we know about migraines. It's very tricky.
They should. I've had them for 20 years.
Yeah.
And like today is like one of those days. Like
Yeah.
I'm teetering. Like
Your
right
massage
now.
will make you feel good.
Right now.
That
I'm
should
like,
help.
ooh.
Ooh. Well, I know that there's a lot of research, just really quick, about migraines around the pressure, the air pressure, and the weather,
The
and the
barometric
weather, and
pressure.
the swings, and the changes in the weather that are correlating with people's migraines that they ruled out in the past in the medical world, and now we're saying, hey, there's some validity to this. There's a higher percentage of people that are saying, no, I know my body and that there's a correlation with the weather and the pressure changes in my
Well, if you look
migraines.
out, there's clouds in the
Yeah,
sky.
Uh-huh.
And
I have a
can,
client
I
right
can
now.
predict the snowstorms. Oh, there's gonna
Oh,
be a
yeah, I
snowstorm tomorrow.
remember.
No
Yeah.
way. Oh,
Yep. So I think that it's important, the takeaway from that section is that it's important for us to check labels, read labels, create an awareness around what we're putting in our body, particularly from a caffeine standpoint. And your daily amount is going to change if you're pregnant, breastfeeding, trying to conceive, which I don't think any of us here are. You said, but that's important for those of us that may be joining us later.
Yes,
And taking certain medications. There's also evidence that shows that genetics can play a role in your tolerance for caffeine as well. The genes affect the enzymes that break down the caffeine in your liver, as well as the receptors in your brain. And so that's what they're finding the genetic correlation is to caffeine intake or tolerance. Okay, so if you've had too much caffeine, I'm sure you guys already know what that feels like. You can be like jittery, exactly, anxious, agitated, difficulty sleeping, all of those kinds of things. Okay, so we're aware of that. Another one is upset stomach, GI upset, so it can mimic almost like an IBS type of symptoms. And also tachycardia, which is like elevated heart rate, heart palpitations.
What about hunger? Like for me, I get starving when I
It's
drink
not a
caffeine.
typical symptom, but it could be just individual to you, absolutely. Yeah, but it's not like when you look up symptoms, it's not like a typical symptom of too much caffeine.
Okay.
So there's some benefits of caffeine. Yay!
Yay.
Right?
That was like, thank God.
Right?
I need to hear this. I need like.
So it does contain over 100 bioactive compounds, which is great. That means that it just contains like a high amount of bioactivity, meaning like absorption, like those things will help your body to absorb more nutrients, basically. I'm trying to break that down. And I didn't think about that. I was like, ooh, I should probably explain what that means. And then for some, it's the largest source of antioxidants in the diet, which I thought was really interesting. But that kind of makes sense with our standard American diet that we have, that coffee or caffeine would be our number one antioxidant source. When I think about antioxidants, I think of like berries, phytonutrients, vegetables, but I thought that statistic was really interesting. And studies show that coffee drinkers have a lower risk of basically getting type 2 diabetes, neurological disorders, and liver diseases. But again, we have to ask ourselves, like, where is that caffeine coming from? Right? Okay. I talked about the genes already because I thought that was interesting. So now we're going to play my little game here. So how much caffeine do you think is just in like a regular cup of coffee, black coffee?
You said 400. So 200 milligrams?
I say 180.
Lower. Both lower.
100, 80, 50.
She's close. It's 95 milligrams per only 8 ounces though. 95
Okay.
per 8 ounces. Okay, and I'm up in my takeaway, I have a little chart. Yay! Okay, that has caffeine intake. So this is supposed to be a Starbucks Grande Latte, which I think is very popular. And it doesn't matter what flavor it is, because we're talking about caffeine, right? So what do we think? Oh, a grande, let me tell you, a grande is 16 ounces.
What, I don't know what latte or anything.
Latte is gonna be espresso. So espresso over like drip coffee. What would you guys think?
I'll say 180 again.
180 again? Close, but it's lower.
150.
Gosh, you're good.
Sorry,
right on the
win.
money.
So with
150.
coffee instead of brew, if it's French press, would that still consider or no?
Ooh, we would have to look up specifically French press coffee, right? Because the strength of it is going to affect the amount of caffeine that's in it. So
The
we would
one
have
thing
to
I
look
can
that
say
up.
on that, working at Starbucks, the lighter the roast, the more caffeine.
Oh.
The longer they
Ooh.
roast it,
It takes it out.
the longer they roast it, the more caffeine is extracted. So you think these people who like their dark
Really?
black coffee, like, very true. And so Starbucks introduced this blonde roast recently, and I've tried it a few times, and I just go through the roof.
My mind is now blown for
God,
this now whole
And I
thing.
don't drink coffee. So
I drink coffee, and I was exactly the person that Brandy is describing. Right now, until this moment, we sit here, I was like, I need it dark.
Dark.
The darker, the better.
Well, maybe you just
the
like the
more
flavor, though.
muddy,
Definitely
the
the
better.
flavor.
Is it
Yeah.
the flavor? Is
But
that
I
what
am
I'm looking
convinced it's stronger.
for? Me too.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway,
we can
mind
fact
blown.
check it, but that's what I was always told.
You work there. I trust you. So the takeaway from caffeine before we go into energy drinks is just that it can be beneficial, but like in most things, we need to have it in moderation, right? And we also need to watch what we're adding to our coffee, right? These creamers and sugars and flavors, and even my sugar-free folk, it still counts. It's still a chemical. It's still something, an additive, right? So takeaway, caffeine in moderation, black coffee, folks, whenever you can. It's the best, most purest, natural way for you to get your caffeine, okay? All right, questions at the end.
I would rather eat it like caffeine.
In chocolate, right? All right, so we're gonna go
Broccoli,
into energy drinks, and really quick, I've got some more pictures. We're gonna do some guessing.
You know, the Red Bull.
Here we are with that
I
Red
had
Bull.
someone that would drink a Red Bull, like sometimes 3, 4 a day, and he saw a thing on it where they poured it on an egg and it was like a rubber. Gave it up cold turkey.
Ooh, that's tough.
See,
did
I've
hear
never,
about
I
that.
don't think I've ever even had one.
So, how much caffeine do you guys think is in? This is a 12-ounce can of Red Bull.
250.
Lower.
180. 150?
Lower and lower than 180.
120.
Close.
150.
111.
111.
111 per 12-ounce can. Okay? And these are the top 3 energy drinks in our country. These are the ones that we're exploring. So, Red Bull is number 1. Number 2 is Monster. And this is going to be a 16-ounce can of Monster. What do we think?
175.
Close. Lower. Just a little bit.
160.
160. Yep, 160. Yep.
Way
Okay.
more.
So, yep. Well, this
But
is
it's a
12
bigger
ounces
drink.
and this
Yeah.
one's 16, right? Okay, so this is regular. There's like 20 million kinds of Celsius. Okay, we're going to do 3. Okay, that I thought were the most profound.
What's
So this is the Celsius is like everywhere right now. It's one of those really low calorie. It's almost like you know how people are drinking the hard seltzers? This is like the energy drink, the hard, like the equivalent. So it's got like very little calories. They say no sugar added, but then it has the energy drink component to it. So people love it. It's everywhere.
Huh.
Most people are drinking it. So I really wanted to make sure that we highlighted this. So
So
this is
So that's lower in caffeine?
no calories.
Okay.
Calories. So this is the original Celsius, because again, they make so many different kinds now. What do we think? And this is a 12-ounce can. So the same as the Red Bull.
140,
Higher.
160.
Higher.
180,
Higher.
220.
210,
200.
200.
200 in 1 Celsius. Okay?
I don't
This
think
one
those
is
either.
called Celsius Essentials.
Hmm,
What do we think?
they're stupid.
What do we think?
220.
Higher.
How big a can is that?
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't tell you that. Just one can. I
Oh,
was
just
not
one
able
can?
to get. It
Like
just says one can.
250,
Higher.
275,
270.
270.
270 in Celsius Essentials. Okay.
Essential.
Right?
Yeah.
Our last one is called Celsius Heat. I thought that was really funny.
300.
I'm
It's
going
on
350.
300. 300.
Yeah.
Exactly. In Celsius Heat.
Well, yeah.
I've never even seen any of those drinks because
Yeah.
we don't drink them.
If you go to even just your gas
Yeah,
station,
yeah.
they're
Really?
going to
Well,
be
I guess I
there.
don't
They
know
are
those
everywhere.
either.
They're in Costco. They're in
Huh.
every grocery store. It's everywhere.
How do they taste?
I don't know
Probably
because
not
I've
good.
never, honestly, I've never
I'm
had one.
interested.
Don't go find out.
I can tell you that I've had like a Red Bull and I've had a Monster.
Yeah,
These have
gross.
been around for a really long time.
Yeah.
But the Celsius, I have not tried.
Yeah.
But yes, these two, 270, what was it, 270 and 300? I mean, that's just
ridiculous.
really profound.
And you're supposed to have 400 a day, so
And
they try to market it where it's
Exactly,
good for
right?
you.
Exactly. So I just thought that was, yeah,
That's crazy.
fascinating, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so Red Bull, I looked up like the top 3 energy drinks
really
and I thought it
does
was
give you
really
wings.
interesting. It really, right? So as of May 2023, Red Bull was the top energy drink brand in the United States, accounting for almost half of all energy drink sales. That's how popular Red Bull is right now. So it's also the most well-known energy drink in the US, accounting for 89% of brand awareness. 89, that means 89% of people, when they think of an energy drink, they think of Red Bull. That's huge, huge. But you also have to think about how long this company's been around, right? At least 20 years in our country.
Well, yeah, and they're in a marketing
how to
realm. They
market, yeah.
sponsor so
A
many
lot of it. It's
athletes
so true.
and stuff.
Athletes and like sporting events and also athletic events. And
Getting your wings to get away
it's
from
true.
that crazy
That's definitely a
person.
good point, Brandy. Yeah. So it originated in Thailand in the 1960s, which
Oh,
I thought
wow.
was interesting.
Very interesting.
And it became popular in Austria in the 1980s as a ski drink. So, so I guess people were trying to get their wings on in Austria
so.
going skiing.
Wow.
So Monster was in second place in 2023 with 30% of the market share, right? And some say that Monster is very sweet and like more bold than Red Bull, but that it might have too much energy for a casual work day.
Oh.
I would have
Might.
to agree. Might.
For a
some.
casual work day.
Casual work day. That's the consensus. And the third is Celsius, because it's a fan favorite because it contains no added sugar, no high fructose corn syrup, or aspartame, right? So that's the huge takeaway. People love it because people are on that I'm not gonna have sugar kick right now. And they want everything to be low calorie. So that's why I think it's become so popular. And some say that it gives them an energy boost that lasts for only 3 hours. 3 hours.
3 hours intense.
I was like, 3 hours? Wow. So, the risks of consuming energy drinks daily, right? So they contain very high amounts of caffeine, which we're talking about, sugar as well, and other stimulants which can have negative side effects over a long period of time. Some of those include heart problems, number 1, right? So the combination of caffeine with all the other stimulants that are in energy drinks are gonna increase your heart rate, heart palpitations. They're gonna increase your blood pressure, okay? So if you're somebody who's already has heart issues, has had open heart surgery, struggles with high blood pressure, those types of things, energy drinks are very, very risky for you to be having. It's very important
So
that you.
can I ask something? It's good to have our heart rates elevated and
Yes.
exercise, right?
Yes,
But is that different than heart palpitations?
yes,
Okay.
completely different.
Okay.
Yeah. So you can have sleep issues, which we've talked about within the caffeine realm, right? They can make it hard to fall asleep, stay asleep, just disrupt your sleep altogether. You can have negative mental health effects. So it can negatively impact your mood, leading to anxiety, depression, and even ADHD. They are finding there are links with high just consuming a lot of energy drinks over a long period of time.
I believe that.
Yeah, I thought that was really interesting too.
Like, think how it alters, like,
I was just gonna
chemistry
say,
almost.
that's what I was just gonna get at, is think about what this is doing to your brain if it can over time cause ADHD. Like, that's super powerful.
You think
Right.
about chronic use of alcohol, tobacco, like there are consequences to that.
Yeah.
It's the same thing with caffeine,
Exactly.
these additives, yes.
Exactly. It can also cause dehydration. That's a big one. Because people are too busy drinking their energy drinks and they're not tuned into what they're drinking otherwise, right? Because they just need to keep going and stay awake. And that's huge. So other side effects we know: headache, nervousness, the jitters, digestive problems again, and also addiction. You can become addicted to energy drinks. That is possible. So how many energy drinks should I be consuming? The answer is 0. Yeah! Avoid when all possible, right? I would also recommend, if you are, and I know because we're not really energy drink drinkers here, but I'm going to say this to the camera, right? If you are an energy drinker, somebody who's drinking 3, 4, 5 energy drinks a day, please do not cut it out cold turkey.
Yeah.
That is not going to make you feel great, and I highly recommend you do not do that. Please taper off, taper down. Take one away from your day, wait a minute, then take another, and so on until you have 0 energy drinks in your diet. I highly recommend you doing it that way.
I feel so much better.
You will feel better, yes. So if you're going to consume them, I would say 1 to 2 a week maximum would be my recommendation as a clinical nutritionist, as somebody who will have their doctorate in 29 days. Woo! Oh, thank God. Okay. That would be my recommendation. And again, the maximum. Ideally, we want 0, right? Okay. And please avoid drinking energy drinks with alcohol. Okay. Red Bull and vodka, not a good look. Okay. Very popular drink.
Well,
Let's
can we
not.
also just mention too, like, that stuff's not cheap. Like, energy drinks aren't cheap, just like cigarettes aren't cheap. So it's like, where do you put your time, money, and energy?
Yep.
Like, those people who are consuming it, it's something to consider.
Absolutely. So here's your fun handout. And we don't have to go over everything because I want to leave time for any kind of questions that you guys have.
Oh, I'm glad all I drink is water.
And this is from Villanova University, credible university. I did not write this, so I'm not going to take credit for it. And Brandy has the PDF actually digitally as well that she plans to send out. So this is a great article about energy drinks. So let's see. The U.S. energy drink business is a yearly $5.4 billion industry. Huge. Energy drinks are marketed to many students who may need wings to help stay awake during class or study. And I am guilty of that in my undergrad studies, my early 20s. I remember drinking like a tall can of Rockstar, and I would stay up all night, especially when I was knee deep in my sorority, as well as trying to go to school full time and work full time. I've always been that girl. So I do have experience with that, and it would affect me that way. So this is really important. The Food and Drug Administration does not approve or review energy drinks since they are marketed as dietary supplements.
That's crazy.
Whoa.
That says a lot.
I didn't know that.
Yes.
That says a lot.
Yeah, it does.
Huge,
It does.
right?
It's huge. Yeah.
Huge. Therefore, many drink claims have not been proven. The amount of added ingredients is neither standardized nor identified on the label, and their safety is not known. The best way to feel energetic remains eating healthy foods, regular physical activity, and getting enough sleep.
Amen.
Right? So this is going to break down some common energy ingredients. We've talked about caffeine extensively. We've talked about sugar. The reason why they add sugar is because sugar converts to glucose. What is our body's #1 energy source, folks? Glucose. So it's like, well, yeah, we need some sugar in there. That's what they're thinking, right? Guarana is a South American plant that produces seeds with a 4 to 5 percent caffeine content. So while coffee only has 1 to 2%. So you don't know. It tells you right here, a 16-ounce energy drink ranges from 1.4 milligrams to as much as 300 milligrams. It's unclear how much is in each drink because many companies just don't list the milligram amount. And we don't know in high levels what this can do to us. Again, chronic. Exactly. So then we have ginseng, which is very popular. A lot of people know about ginseng. It can increase your brain power, well-studied herb, right? But it's definitely not regulated. So it's difficult to know how much you're gonna be getting in that drink that you're drinking. But again, ginseng is contraindicated, which means it can react with many, many, many pharmaceutical drugs. So if you're somebody who is on medications for different health conditions, ginseng is something that you definitely want to check in with your healthcare practitioner. Even, and I don't usually always recommend this, but even a simple Google search will tell you what you should or should not be taking, consuming with your pharmaceuticals. Very, very important, okay? Taurine, another one, it's an amino acid. It is definitely a natural ingredient, but just like we say, too much of anything is never a good thing. So it can act as a neurotransmitter, which is a chemical messenger that allows cells to communicate with each other in the brain, okay? So most energy drinks have anywhere from 20 milligrams to 2,000 milligrams of taurine in a 16-ounce beverage. And it says that when taurine is dumped into the bloodstream like that, it can't pass through the membranes that protect the brain.
Wow.
Okay? And even if it did, scientists believe that taurine would actually act as a sedative, not a stimulant.
Wow.
So, I mean, on a side note, like, a lot of this seems to conflict with neurotransmitters. And I
Yes.
don't know a lot about the brain. I'm not that person. But obviously, at a basic level, like, people are struggling with ADD and depression and
Anxiety,
all of that. And
stress.
that's probably not helping.
Absolutely, I would say that. And also, we have to think about the contraindications within, antidepressants. Any type of those mood-altering drugs that somebody may be taking regularly. How is that going to react when somebody drinks something like this and they're already taking that, right? There's all these considerations that we have to make. So here's your fun little chart, right? That takeaway chart that gives you a little bit about how much caffeine is in something. And again, Google can be very useful for certain things. So if you're not sure, you can Google like how much is in a specific thing, caffeine I mean, and then you can find that out, okay? So there's some takeaways here. I think the most important one here, because we're running out of time, is that Norway, Uruguay, and Denmark have banned Red Bull because of its negative health effects. So I think we should take note, America. And how do you stay energized naturally, right? Breakfast, the most important meal of the day. We've been saying forever. Still an important statement, still a valid statement, right? Soy. So soy is a great source of B vitamins and essential fatty acids. And then green tea. Green tea is a great source of caffeine. Natural source of caffeine, of course. Once again, too much soy, too much green tea we don't want to do. So these things we want to have in moderation, just like everything else. And water, hydration, right? Other things I can add to this, like we've said, I think it's on the other page, adequate sleep, stress management, huge, right? These are other things that we can do to stay energized. Regular exercise, right? So that is my speech, my spiel. I hope that you guys really got some powerful information, some information that you can take away with you. And does anybody have any questions about anything?
I have 2 comments. I think that there's something that goes to say from people who feel tired, like AKA, like in one way your brain almost isn't functioning. I'm really starting to learn about how much our brain needs fuel. Like when you think of eating, you think of fueling your physical body to work out, go to the grocery store, whatever. But like your prefrontal cortex like has to have food. Like that's part of the energy of that.
Absolutely.
So I think when people think about how tired they are and how reliant but I need to have it because I'm so tired. I like really looking at what your nutrition looks like and how much, like she said, skipping breakfast. If you're an intermittent faster, but you're doping on caffeine left and right, it might be because you're not eating enough.
Yes.
Part 2 of that, I almost kind of forgot, so I'll come back to it, but I don't know, it'll come back to me.
Okay, and to piggyback on what you're saying, what are the top 2 energy or fuel sources for the brain? Do we know?
Rest.
Glucose, cholesterol.
Huh.
People forget cholesterol.
Yeah.
That's why your good fats and all of those and even eating a little bit of cholesterol is important. So we know that when somebody has high cholesterol, it's not actually the cholesterol that is causing the high cholesterol. It is the inflammatory response that is caused by the high cholesterol that is causing all the problems. It's not actually the cholesterol.
Interesting. That
Right.
is really
So
interesting.
we are debunking that whole low fat, no fat. I have high cholesterol, so I can't have cholesterol in my diet. We're not fueling our brains, folks, if we do
Yes.
not have some cholesterol. So eat your butter, eat your fats.
Okay.
I remember
Don't go keto. No, just. I didn't say that. Shh. Okay.
My
There's a
second
place for
point
keto.
was the like continual usage of it, like that addiction in and of itself creates it, and as well as dehydration, like you're just putting yourself more into that fatigue, that chronic
Yes.
fatigue. If, like you said, don't go cold turkey and quit, but if you can wean off of it, reset and calibrate your ability to take caffeine, to be hydrated, then you can authentically figure out like what is appropriate for your body, because you want to enjoy coffee, right? But like those
Yes.
people who just kind of
Yes, I
tell
do.
themselves falsely, like I'm reliant on these heavy, I can't do it without these energy, I have to have it. Like that's probably a big signal to wean off of it and recalibrate.
Absolutely, and I can tell you in the past, working with clients that are the energy drinkers, they, 3 and 4 in a day, and that's the strategy. We taper off. We use other strategies for them to increase their energy. And every single time, I've never had a case where somebody doesn't come to me and say, Amber, thank you. I feel so much better. I actually do have more energy because I'm eating better and I'm exercising and I'm doing all the things and I'm
Yeah.
sleeping better.
I think it's to identify too, if you're really tired or if you just, it'll pass. I know sometimes I'll just get energy after a task, say especially like a Zoom call. I am wiped out.
Yes,
And
Zoom
then-
fatigue is a real thing, by the way.
Well,
It is.
I
Yes.
mean, I just get so, even if it's like a fairly satisfying call.
Sure.
And then, but I've learned like, okay, rather than just say, oh, well, this day's over, to say, well, it might pass. I mean, I might get my energy back with
Yes.
just water or,
It's true.
so it's sometimes identifying if you're really tired, what the solution is,
Well, that's why they say like do 10 jumping jacks, go for a 10-minute walk, like
Yes.
re-energize, re-stimulate your body organically versus stimulating it with this intense rush of chemicals and sugar. And
Absolutely,
sweets,
and
yeah.
I think that also ties into like being able to take a step back and kind of check in with yourself.
Yeah.
Check in with your body. Am I thirsty? Because that's where a lot of it comes
Yeah.
from. The fatigue will come from, especially living in Colorado.
Yeah.
With how dry everything is and how much water we really do need. And especially if you're somebody who's active too, you have to take all of that into account as well. So I definitely think that's it's important to really check in with your body and try to figure
Yeah.
out what it is that your body
Yeah.
needs, because
Yeah.
that fatigue may be coming from something else. You're absolutely right.
Yeah, I mean, I'm like ready to go to sleep after a Zoom call.
10 jumping jacks, Deborah.
Sometimes I talk to my dog, and that
There you
helps.
go.
Or go
Any
for a
other
walk.
last thoughts, Amber?
No, just caffeine in moderation and try
Yeah.
to stay away from those energy drinks.
Yeah,
But
no
it's too
energy.
late
Yeah.
to
No.
see 'em.